What's up guys, Trevor here, Skate Paradise. So I wanted to show you different types of trucks in this video and kind of compare them and talk about why I ride the trucks that I ride now and why you might ride similar ones or different ones. It's really up to you. But you know, if you're just kind of like a beginner with skateboarding, or even if you're intermediate or pretty advanced, you may not know about all these differences in trucks and skateboard trucks and kind of how they can affect you and your skating. So that's why I want to talk about it, because over time I've kind of learned what I like more, and you might like, you know, similar things or different things. So the main trucks that I ride now are Ventures, and specifically Venture lows. And kind of talk about the difference between lows and highs, but also Ventures versus other trucks as well. And there's differences in the designs of the base plate and the geometry of the hanger and the kingpin. You know, and there's so many different types of trucks beyond just Ventures. Obviously, there's, you know, Thunders, and there's Silvers, and there's the other trucks that I've ridden in the past are like Royals. There's a lot. Independent, of course, is one of the main brands. So I'll talk about them too and kind of the pros and cons. But let's just talk about Ventures first, and then I'll move from there because that's what I'm skating mostly these days. So Venture lows specifically are really cool because they're a bit lower to your board than the highs. And so just by looking at this, you can't really tell, but these are the lows anyways. And so just kind of get an idea what those look like. You know, as you can see, if you look really close there, it's a bit tapered down. The axle is from the top of the hanger, and you know, this is actually the normal truck. This is not the light truck, so these are like the normal heavy ones, which is good. And I'll talk about the difference between normal and lights as well. These are the Venture highs, the normal Ventures, the ones that do not taper down, that have a bit higher hanger, and yeah, everything else is about the same on those. And this is a good example of Venture lows. They're a bit smaller size for smaller boards, but these are the lows and the lights. So these are low lights, specifically kind of a Uto model. But yeah, so if you can kind of compare a little bit, the base plate is a bit thinner on the lights, and the kingpin is also a hollow kingpin. So it is a bit lighter than the regular ones. And there's some pros with that and some cons as well. What I've found with skating, generally speaking, is especially with skating parks and just learning and practicing flip tricks and manuals and grinds, is the low trucks are really nice for street stuff. They're going to give you a little bit lower pop position and point of pop, so that it's easier to pop into lower ledges and lower manual pads. And it's a bit easier to practice flip tricks as well, because you just don't have to move the board up as high in order to pop the ground, so you pop quicker. And then everything kind of floats a little bit easier that way. The lows are just a different geometry, basically. Similar weight, and yeah, so I use them for practicing at the streets, for mostly like doing practicing at the parks, doing mostly park skating and practicing my manuals and stuff like that. I find that with manuals, especially with manuals, it's easier to use the lows to get into them. With the highs, I actually really like these for skating street. They're just the typical Venture highs, and they're really good because they have a bit of a higher pop, and it'll help you to get onto handrails and jump onto bigger things and jump downstairs. And there's a bit more clearance between the board and the wheel on the highs as opposed to the low, you know, obviously. And it also depends on the size of the wheel that you ride, which is a whole different topic, but I'll make a separate video on that. But when you're skating streets and bigger stuff, it's better to have more clearance here, obviously, so your wheel doesn't hit your board when you land. It makes it a little bit easier to land stuff, especially jumping on bigger things. So I like Ventures because of the geometry specifically. It's a lot better for street skating, and I enjoy them for street skating. That's what I mostly do, park and street. Here's an example of a different truck entirely called Thunders that are very popular, especially out here where I am in Bali, Indonesia. They sell these at the shops, and a lot of people ride them and stuff like that. Thunders are a great overall truck. They're really good for streets, parks, bowls. They have a great turning radius on them. The hanger is kind of similar to like a Destructo or something like that, and it's just a really good overall truck. The only reason I don't like the Thunders is because of the base plate design. And if you can tell from here, the tip of the base plate doesn't come that far off of the truck. Okay, so what ends up happening is slides on ledges tend to stick a bit more because your wheels are sliding more against the ledge. Whereas with Ventures, I'll try to show you here, how the geometry is a bit different. The base plate is a bit longer, and there's a little bit of a space between the base plate and the wheel. So when you're sliding on the ledge, the base plate actually will grind against the ledge, and your wheels will come off the ledge a bit. So it's a bit easier to slide, your slide's longer, and it's just a bit different, to be honest. If you want like a really good overall truck that's light, I can definitely recommend Thunders for that. But if you're looking to slide and do slides longer, and manis, and just kind of overall have good street skating or park skating abilities, I really like Ventures. I've been riding them for a long time, ever since I really started skating. I started riding them because my friend from California, from Sacramento, rode them, and he liked them a lot. Some other notable trucks I wanted to mention are like the independent trucks. And the independent trucks I don't have on me, but they're a little bit bigger and heavier, but they're really good with turning. So they turn crazy good. So they're really good for bowl skating, really good for big street skating, skating down hills, hill bombs. Pretty much the best overall truck, I would say, actually is the independent truck. And I might even switch back to independent truck, or just have a different board for skating bigger stuff that has independent trucks on it. Right now, this is my street skating setup. It's got the bigger Venture trucks. So I really wouldn't try to ride this too much skating bowls, even though I do. But I will probably be getting a separate setup just specifically for bowl skating that has an even bigger board, like an 825. This is an 8125. 825 Venture, independent trucks, as well as bigger wheels. Okay, let's go over the wheel size a little bit, because it does play a factor in your board setup. So when it comes to having lower trucks, it's a really good idea to have smaller wheels. So these wheels right here specifically, I believe, are 51 millimeters. I have such little clearance between the wheel and the deck that if I had like a 54 or something like that, it would just, it would always be touching. And as you can see, I get a bit of wheel bite already. Sometimes when I land my tricks and it stops on my board. Whereas with this one, I haven't skated this as much, but there's quite a bit less wheel bite, you can tell. So these are actually 53 millimeter wheels, I believe, or 53 or 54. And with a higher truck, I can have a bigger wheel. And the benefit of bigger wheels is that they're going to be smoother when you're riding on rough surfaces. They're going to go faster generally, because they're just bigger wheels without having to push as hard. It's better for skating bigger stuff, bowls, going fast, that kind of thing. Whereas little wheels are better for skating generally smaller things, or just doing more technical stuff. So if you mix like a small boards and low trucks with big wheels, you end up with something like this with very low clearance. And so, this is just a setup that I threw together really quick. I still need to switch to a lower wheel on this setup right here. This is a 775 deck. It's just kind of for practicing flip tricks and stuff like that. Nothing crazy. Really mostly just stationary stuff, actually. And so I haven't switched it yet because it's not really that big of a deal. But that's it, guys. So I just wanted to kind of show you the difference between the different types of Venture trucks, so you can get a feel for it. Really, I tried out the lights, the Venture lights, and I didn't like them as much as the regular Ventures, because even though they're lighter, you'd think they would help. Actually, it kind of doesn't help. Because it makes your board way too easy to flip and to throw, and it kind of gets away from you more. So the heavier truck, and this is again my personal opinion, this might not be the same thing for everyone. Like if you're a much shorter or lighter weight person than me, maybe you're not going to have the same experience. But I'm like almost 6 feet tall, 5'11", 6 foot. I wear size 11 shoes, and so with that, I need to have a bigger board and heavier trucks. Something that's going to be a bit more bulky, that's going to stick under me when I'm skating. And of course it goes along with your abilities as well too. Like if you're just an insanely good skater, maybe a light truck will help you because you're already really good. You can handle things a lot better, and maybe you're just not quite as advanced. Maybe a bigger, heavier truck is better because it's going to be more steady under your feet. So there's a lot of different things that go with trucks and which ones you should buy. I hope this video helps. If you have anything to talk about in the comments section, just leave it and let me know, and we'll have a good discussion about it. I'm always open to learning new things about trucks and other people's opinions, because really it's just a subjective matter. There's objective things about it, but everybody's different in what they like, and also their skating abilities and their skating styles and what they skate. And so it's just going to be different for everybody. So just let me know what you think, and I'll love to have discussions with everybody about this. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos about skating, and yeah, let's network. See you guys out there.